So the final video for creating an integrated library in Altium will be creating a custom image component. Altium allows you to import any type of image both into your schematic and your PCB components. So you get a nice visual display, whether it's a logo to place in your schematic, and you can also match it to a logo that will be printed on the silkscreen layer to your PCB board, which allows you to have some creativity and ownership of the board. So the way we do this is by running a custom script in Altium's menu, and Altium designers have created a script called PCB Logo Creator. I've shared that with you, so download it from the YouTube link in the description below. The first thing we need to do with any component that we create is create the schematic component, which in this case just consists of a simple graphic. So let's do that in Altium. So this is our schematic library. We need to add in a new component. So I'll go to the components window and select add. Our component name, in this case, I'm going to be using the James Cook University logo. So I'll name it JCU logo will be my schematic component name. And then the properties we can set for this schematic. So for an image, I don't really want to display a designator or a comment indicating the part number. So typically what I do here is leave the default designator and comment blank with an asterisk and uncheck the visibility options. So all that's displayed is an image. And we can add in now a description. So I'll say it's the James Cook University logo. And that's our part that we're creating here. We'll eventually be able to add in a model, but right now we don't have one. So that's all the properties we'll be setting. So now it's quite simple. What you have to do is go to place and then graphic, select the bottom and right positions for the graphic, browse for an image, and that's the end of our schematic image. So we go to place, graphic, the very bottom option. It allows you to place where it's going to be positioned first, but sometimes you don't know the actual size. So what you can do is just click anywhere, and once you load the image, it will automatically populate its size. So there are two images that I've made available with these resources and the YouTube description. So I have a black and white bitmap image, which is actually required for the Altium PCB script. And then I have a more colorful PNG image, which is a bit more visually nice. And I want to use this colorful PNG image in my schematic and the bitmap image for producing my PCB logo. So let's just use this colorful one now. And there we have our James Cook University placed right there. So again, with all schematic components, you want it centered. So what I want to do is position the very center of the image to be as close to center as possible, roughly there. So a very important step when you're creating an image component for your schematic is to make sure that that image is always accessible when you share your library. To do that, make sure that you select the embedded checkbox in the properties of your graphic. If you don't have it as an embedded image, when you share your integrated library, the image won't be reproducible. So ensure that you select embedded. And that's our schematic component, completely finished. So we can save our work. So the way we create the PCB image is a bit more involved. The first thing we need to do is set up a new PCB component, and then we're going to run a script. So let's set up that component in Altium. Go to our PCB library. These are our old components. So we need to right click in the component space, new blank component, and we're going to double click and rename it JCU logo. The description will be similar to before. And here's our empty space for creating the logo. So the next step is to run a script. To do this, we access the DXP drop-down menu and run script. And then you want to download and extract the resources zip file that I've created inside the YouTube description. And then you want to browse to, within that folder, PCBLogoCreator.prjscr. So let's give that a go. So go to DXP, then run script on the right. Browse to where you've downloaded and extracted the PCB Logo Creator folder. In my case, it's just the downloads folder. And you want to browse to PCB Logo Creator PRJSCR. Double click that. Now select the Run Converter script from the tree menu and select OK. So it opens a new PCB document and this window here, which is the script program. So what you need to do is first look at the board layer option. So you can actually place an image on any layer you want in the PCB. Right now it's set to top layer, so that would place it in the copper. That's not what you want though. Typically you'll want to place it on the silkscreen layer, so you want to change this drop-down menu to the top overlay. Top overlay, it will appear in yellow by default. Then you can load your custom image. By default, the PCB logo creator has a couple of Altium logos that you can use. So I want to browse to our JCU bitmap that we've made available in the resources folder with this screencast. Double click the bitmap. Now what happens is the script will convert the black pixels into a series of PCB silkscreen lines and place them in the top overlay. If you want to convert white pixels instead of black pixels, you can select the negative checkbox. You can also apply a scaling factor. If you want to double the size or half the size, you can apply a scaling factor. However, I've sized my bitmap image to be roughly what I want on the PCB, so my scaling factor is 1:1, and then you can click Convert. If you have a larger image, this conversion will take a long time, but I've optimized the size of my bitmap, and you should feel free to customize your own bitmaps. Create your own black and white bitmaps and map them to images. So now I can press Exit, and there's our JCU logo. It's a little bit choppy. You can get a better conversion via having a larger resolution bitmap, but again, that conversion process will be slower and slower. And for the purpose of this screencast, I'm just going quick here. The next step is to cut and paste this logo from that random PCB document into your PCB component library. So we'll go back to Altium. So select the image that you've just loaded in, then select Edit, Cut, browse to your PCB library file, and select Edit, Paste, and click somewhere in your image and it should produce the JCU logo. Now you want to drag this and roughly center it somewhere in the middle of your PCB component. So there we have it. Now you can save the image. So that's it. We've created the PCB outline, and if you zoom right in, you'll see that it's just a series of line segments that they've mapped to the black pixels in your image. So now the final step is to select the PCB footprint for your matching schematic component. The final step is to tie our PCB footprint to our schematic component. So we do that by going to the schematic library, browsing to our JCU logo, and selecting Add Footprint. It automatically will search for our fresh PCB library. We want to select JCU logo, OK. There are no pins to map in this case, so we can just press OK. So there you have it. We've created our custom image component. So the final thing I'll do in this screencast is just test out every single component that we created. So first I'll go to my projects view and compile our freshly created integrated library with all three components. And now I want to place them into a schematic and then produce a PCB and see what they all look like. So what I'll do is quickly create a brand new PCB project. PCB project, leave all the default settings, add in a schematic, add in a PCB. We'll save all of that. And now in the schematic, let's drag and drop our freshly created three components by browsing to our integrated library. And again, we don't have to install this library if we have the library project open in Altium. So let's drop in our through-hole MOSFET, our surface mount voltage regulator, and our custom JCU logo component. Let's save our schematic and now update the PCB and see those three components produced on our PCB. So they're just over here. Let's have a zoom in. I can delete the room that they belong to. And here we have our through-hole component, our surface mount voltage regulator, and our JCU logo. One little thing to note with the image is this small asterisk in the top left. You can disable that via selecting hide in the component settings. And there are our three components. We have our three PCB footprints and our three schematic objects. So this completes our integrated library screencast set. I hope it's been useful. You should be able to create any number of surface mount, through hole, and custom components from here on out.